last year was really too high. So never.
This conference will now be recorded.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You gotta go up here.
No, you're fine. Just March 1st. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yep.
call the Marion County Commission meeting for March 1st to order. Do we have any public comments? Not hearing or seeing anything. We'll move on to approve the agenda. I hear a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
And second by Dave Mueller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against? Move on to administrative business.
Okay.
Sorry.
First thing I have is a COVID update from Deidre. And so it's as of 7:25 a.m. we are at 638 positive.
Oh,
Hold on.
me again.
Let me see who's on here that's making noise. Okay. Somebody on the phone? Okay, 638 positive confirmed PCR cases, 364 probable, 7 active, 0 hospitalizations as of Thursday, and 23 vital statistic confirmed deaths. Percent positivity for Marion County decreased 1%, and as of 7:25 a.m., the rolling 14-day positivity rate for Marion County through February 20th is 7%. We received the vaccine for the week of the 15th and the week of the 22nd last week, a total of 400 booster doses and 400 prime doses. However, a portion of the prime had to replace the boosters used on the 17th. The pod on Wednesday, the 24th, 115 prime doses were administered and 270 booster doses were administered. The pod on March 3rd will be for individuals receiving their initial dose on February 3rd, so it's just a booster. The March 3rd pod will be at the Marion County Fairgrounds. Future pods include March 10th and 17th for booster doses and March 11th for prime doses for 65 and older. Those will be conducted at Tabor College. And that's still by appointment only for the new doses. On Friday, she says, Wanda and myself assisted the National Guard in vaccinating 2 school district staff. Wanda and I also vaccinated boosters at Peabody Congregate Living Facility and law enforcement with extra doses. Doses are to be used within 10 days of receiving them from the state. Vaccination reporting input must be completed within 24 hours of administration. Again, thank you to the hospitals, volunteers, and other businesses that have assisted with the pods, and also thank you to the county commissioners for their assistance in allowing other county offices to assist. Okay. In your packet, I gave you some informational items. And so the first thing in the packet is an exterior repair quote for the courthouse that I had gotten. This is the second time I've gotten them to come out and take a look. We've got a known issue on the north stairs over here, which is, I know, is causing moisture on that spot. So I don't know if you had a chance to look through some of that, but I would like to take the commission out there to show you what's going on at some point, maybe this morning. And then also you had the Reno Dry report and proposal there. So that was informational, and if you want to talk about any of this at a future time, or even now, it's fine. But I do know that something contributing to, we do have one problem area in the north stairs, and that is being caused, a lot of it's being caused by water coming in through the stairs, which you'll be able to see when we go that way.
When was the last time you got a quote from them?
Well, this last one was October 2019. And so really, I haven't brought this forward before because what should happen is we should put a request for bids together and seek bids from qualified restoration companies for that, and I just hadn't had a chance or the technical ability to put the RFP together. And I did reach out to the architect that helped us with the windows, and he said he would come by and look at it, and they would be willing to help with that, but they never have come. And of course, then last year just went the way it went, so.
I know this Mid-Continent is kind of the main contractor for those kind of things in this area.
We're pretty familiar with them. The architect gave me the names of several contractors that are qualified for this kind of work. I also did have some local companies come and take a look at it, and nobody wants to mess with it. So, at least at the time, nobody was interested in trying to take a look at that. So, but we know that there's water coming in there, and that's affecting that north inside entrance in the basement level. So, of course, that was also noted in the Reno Drive report as a moist area, which, you know, we already knew, so.
Is there potential for financial assistance through different programs?
This is historical preservation.
I don't know that it's a big enough project
Okay.
to.
There's a threshold?
Yeah, generally the bigger projects get funded.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know which particular programs maybe would want to look at that. We've applied in the past for Heritage Trust Fund financing or grants on different projects, like when we did the elevator in here, I think, and some other things, some tuck pointing or something. That was before my time, but.
Without financing, what would we cover out of?
Well, if you wouldn't necessarily have to do all the work. I was asking them about what it would take to clean up the limestone, because you might see we've got a lot of black on the
Yes.
building.
Yes.
And so when I added up all these estimates that I had them just do each thing separately, as you saw in your packet. And I think it was a total of $70,000
Right.
some odd dollars when I added it all up.
But the preservation of the building is critical.
Well,
Right.
I see a lot of cracks
Yeah.
and mortar, and that stairway especially. Is
Yeah,
gotta
it's
be-
really bad, and there's just not a good way to get at it.
Right.
So, anyway.
So can we proceed with getting more information or process of this?
Well, I have only one vendor, and of course, that's over a year old, so.
Right. Good. To update.
I guess what I would have to do would be utilize what they gave me as a scope of work to send out to multiple vendors, but that's also feels a little bit unfair in the fact that the vendor did the work to.
Did all the work?
Yeah, so that's just kind of where I have been, so.
And it would cost $10,000 to get an engineer, put a bid together, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know.
Is this, I hate to say it, is this something Bryce could look at?
I don't.
Not really his
think so.
expertise,
I
but
know, but it's still
still a
structural.
structure.
I mean, part of having the engineer was to try to do more in-house engineering.
Would it be wise to give him what we have and say, whenever you have time, look at this and see if you agree with what they're talking about after you've looked at it? I don't know.
To give to who?
To Bryce.
I really don't think so. I think you need somebody that is familiar with historic buildings and this kind of, and building construction. I don't know that Bryce's expertise is on buildings at all.
There's so many.
And every time I've seen one of these type buildings being worked on, it's been that company.
Well, could you just go back to those companies for updates? Could we do that? I'm sure after 2 years, they've got to.
Oh yeah, it'll be increased.
Sure.
They have the report, they just have to figure what the cost would be now, basically.
Right.
There's more damage too.
Yeah, so only one vendor has looked at it, is what I'm saying, so I'm gonna have to develop a scope of work
Okay.
for multiple contractors to bid on, and then send that out to all the contractors. So I'm happy to work on that, if that's what the board would like me to do. It's just that I don't feel like I have the stumbling block for me has been, I'm not a structural engineer
No.
person, and so being able to, you know,
But Mid-Continent has their own engineer. I'm taking for granted.
I don't really know about that. I just know that them individually came out,
I'm just thinking about, like what Dave said, if we just hire a structural engineer, it's gonna be 15 grand.
Well, I don't know that we necessarily need an engineer, and I don't know if maybe the architects that we've worked with on the windows would maybe just review my scope of work for me before I send it out. They might do that for a reasonable cost, or I don't know what they will do.
I guess check on it and see what we come up with. Probably need to do something though in the next year.
We're not really clearing the 100,000 mark to
Yeah, no.
justify an engineer.
I just think we should try to get bids direct from vendors
Yeah.
and just make sure, I just want to make sure that whatever processes they are recommending, that the people that do historic preservation are on board with what we're doing with the building.
Right.
And the architects that we've used before have a lot of experience in that, so I feel comfortable going to them to make sure that we're not making a misstep. Something else when they're doing, if we do that chemical treatment of the outside of the building, I want to make sure with the architect that that's an appropriate process. And then that also brings into, that we have a lot of plants and different things out there that might be affected, which,
Yeah, it needs-
so be it, but.
Needs to be somebody that understands these old buildings, because after we saw that bid on that, I did some Googling around and checking on it, maybe you guys did too, but these buildings were built, they're called permeable. The new buildings they build now are called non-permeable. And so these old buildings were made to absorb and evaporate water. It's just the nature of them, the way they built them back then. So it's a little different animal than, going down to your building.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, that was all in your packet. Then I would just have other administrative business unless you all want to talk about any of that anymore.
I think we have to have updated prices.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Something on a priority
Yep.
to get done.
And working with the architect to help guide you through the process.
And nobody is ready to take any kind of an action on the Reno Dry stuff, right?
I'm not totally sold on it yet.
All right.
What's your recommendation?
I don't have one.
Okay.
I mean, just
And
based on what I read.
Having the information there is fine. I think we have some other issues that maybe would address some of the problems in this particular report.
Yes.
And I think overall, it seems like our building is we're doing pretty well with the moisture compared to what we used to be. So I'm not, I just don't feel real comfortable with their process, and it's not really explained very well. And I think that would need to do a little more research on the company itself and,
Good.
But, so I have the minutes of February 26th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 26th as written.
I'll second.
Nate, you have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Okay.
4-0.
Do you have a pen over there, Commissioner Crowfoot?
Yes.
All right, then I'll have you sign it above the chairman's name.
Cross it out.
Yeah, I'll fix that. And then underneath. We do have change orders. Okay, just passing this way.
Go the other direction.
It's
Yeah.
different. Can't do things different.
Except changing lights.
Can't be right, going that way.
Unless you start them around. Can't throw them back to him.
Pass that back.
Oh, this one.
Too far down the top.
It's stuck together.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, thank you. Okay. You had approved the health insurance and dental insurance through Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and so I put our current rates and structure in there that we're doing currently. And then Cherry had given me several different scenarios for rate structures. And I just kind of wanted to see what your thoughts are as far as employee contributions versus county contributions on that. And there's, I'm sorry, let me see if I can make this smaller so I can see what it says. So in the past, the county has paid, we used to pay 100% of option 2 for all employees, and then we would pay the difference. For people who had family coverage, we would pay they would pay the difference. And then if they wanted the higher level plan, they would pay the difference, or the lower level plan, they might they wouldn't get a decrease on what the county paid, but if they were paid for family coverage, it'd be a little bit less expensive. So I didn't know if you want, what your thoughts are as far as leaving the out-of-pocket expense to the employees the same, or, so she's prepared a few different scenarios. One is if the county pays the increase on the single option number 2, and then it actually goes just up a little bit on the family for the employee out-of-pocket. And I don't know if you all had a chance to look through any of this or any of it made any sense to you, but.
So, on option 2, they don't pay anything.
No, they do.
Yeah.
That was changed several years ago to where they had to start paying a percent of the premium. And so, like if we go back to the main sheet, it's kind of easy to see that on option 2, currently the county pays, you know, before our rates change, we're paying, I think, the employees are paying $85.50 a month for option 2, which is the kind of the standard option, and then the families are paying us $766.82 out of pocket. And the county a couple years ago went to paying additional in on the family instead of the employee having to pay the whole difference. We now pay the amount of the single rate less the employee's portion, and then we pay an extra $400, so that all they pay is, I mean, that means they still pay the $766, but before that it would have been $400 a month more than that. So I think I'm kind of talking in a circle here, I'm sorry, but.
No, I was having trouble understanding county extra, now I understand.
Okay, good.
That's what goes for the family.
Right, so that's for the family. So
Counties.
right now, with the
Gotcha.
first option, it's in your packet,
Yep.
the county paid increase on single. That means that it would not increase out of pocket on level 2 for the single. And you can see the percents to the left, that the employees are paying 9.9% and the families are paying 40%. And the increase for the, so that would mean the county would pick up the extra $5 a month for the single plans, but and the employee would not have an increase there, but they do have an increase on level 3 of 48 cents, which is not very much, and then level 1 has a decrease. Can you all see kind of how that looks on here? And then the county, the increase for the family is $6.36. So do you see the 2 columns in the middle are the employee increase? So that's one option. If we absorb the entire increase for the employees, you know, single on option 2, and then everything else adjusts around that. The whole 9 months of premium it'd be about an additional $4,000 for the county. She's got one with a slight decrease in employee contribution. She's got where if the family paid the increase based on family option 1, so they would have an increase for the family, which is just a few dollars. I mean, it's really however you want to do it. Current percents, that means on the this next one, at current percents, then everybody would have a slight increase. Just about. Current increase, she did one if we did current contribution percents and then increase the family additional by $25 a month. And I guess that's all that she did. So you can choose one of those options or something else.
I would almost maybe leave it the same and have the county make sure.
I'd be in favor of being that we were, I guess you could call it pleasantly surprised that our rates didn't go up any more than they did.
Yeah.
I'd be in favor of just absorbing the increase, leaving the rest the same.
So you're talking on like page 39?
Are you talking about absorbing the increase on all plans?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not one of the options we have in here,
For the employee.
but that's definitely
I mean,
doable.
leaving
You would
the
leave the rates
leaving
the-
the out of pocket the same.
Okay, that's definitely an option. I don't have it costed here, but.
In some ways, there should be some type of reward for employees staying healthy, because if they stay healthy, it keeps our costs.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Which happened this year.
Which happened.
This year, we had a lot less claims.
Right.
We've had some years with some
Oh,
huge claims.
And there's no control over it.
No,
Had some heart attacks and stuff.
Sure.
Well, at some point soon, we're gonna need some sort of formal action from the board to set those contribution rates for the upcoming plan year, so that we're starting to plan open enrollment right now, so.
So I'll make the motion that we keep the employees' contribution the same as it was last year.
Same dollar amount,
Same dollar.
same dollar amount out of pocket.
about the same.
About 10%.
Okay, so you made it, did you make that motion then? So we're.
Jonah seconded.
I was just clarifying what you're.
Maybe I'll have a little further discussion since Randy just walked in.
On our building?
We're talking about insurance,
Insurance.
contribution rates.
Health insurance.
There's a motion made by Commissioner Crowfoot to keep the employee contributions the same for all plans, based on dollars as last year.
The same plan they have, they stay the same? or-
Yeah, it's be $4,000 expense to the county.
County would absorb a small part.
Okay, go ahead.
Be higher than that.
Well, it'll be a little bit higher, because if you do it, I don't have that costing here, because if you do all the rates the same, that would, you wouldn't have an increase on any of these plans. So it would be a little bit higher, might be double the amount.
For the county.
Yeah, but we budgeted for like a 25% increase.
I'll second Dave's motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
Turn the meeting back over to Commissioner Dalkey.
Well, thank you, sir. Sorry about being late.
That's all right.
What else we got coming up then?
I did say I would like to take you all out and show you sometime this morning, the north stairs. Okay, we've done, I don't think I have any salary sheets. We've done change orders.
Okay.
We were supposed to have some signature cards from the bank. I'll have to check and see if those are here. And we've done the minutes. And I did ask about whether we need to update that disaster declaration, and according to Randy Frank, we are not able to, because we've had no damage submitted.
Okay.
So that,
For March?
yeah, because it's been 7 days now.
Okay.
And I do have an update on the Community Development Block Grant, and I think that Commissioner Becker may have additional information on a SCED update that was put down during administrative time.
Okay.
So you want me to look at an update for Marion County out of SCED as of the end of February. Of course, right now they're terribly busy, not just with grants, but they're doing a pile of microloans. These 50,000 or less small business that didn't seem to be very popular several years ago are now very popular. And so that's a funding source for some of our small businesses. On CDBG grant, 110,634 has been expended of the 167,000 awarded. Out of that, 10 businesses and meal programs have been served, and 35 jobs have been retained. And under the weatherization program, in the past two program years, 13 homes in Marion County have gone under weatherization. 3 homes are in the process of being weatherized right now, and 2 homes are on the waiting list for the initial inspection. You know much about the weatherization program?
Not through SCED.
The weatherization program is where they will, based on income guidelines, they come in, they have their own contractors, they redo windows, insulation, even HVAC. And so it's a great program. And, you know, so if anybody knows of people that could utilize that, we have I think it's on the county website, weatherization, if I remember right.
I believe it is.
Can you download, I haven't looked, can you download the application off of that?
I don't remember, but I think you can. I mean, I know the
Okay.
information's out there.
If not,
so.
we can take care of the application that goes through their office in, they have offices in Wichita and Hutchinson. Weatherization goes through Hutchinson. So,
Kent, when you back up there to your small business loans, how many counties are in SCED under the area that we're in?
well, it's all of South Central Kansas, and now they have assumed the office out of either Dodge City or Garden City. So they're actually servicing Southwest Kansas now.
The reason why I asked that question is because I told you that I had sort of an interesting meeting down south at Augusta, and one of the questions that got interesting to our chairman, CEO of the board, was how we get our information out to the counties we serve, just like this small business loan.
Right.
And so, because I think on the CEO's review, the chairman of the board asked that it be improved to get out to the counties. And that was sort of a stickler point that it's just not getting out to all the counties. So
Yeah, it's communication is the biggest part, you know, just letting people know that those resources are there. Of course, SCED's been pretty active in Marion County for a number of years, but still, if you don't go through the county or go through the city offices, a lot of people still don't know what's SCED, you know.
Dave, up there in Tampa, how does somebody come into town and start a business? If they wanted that, how would they find something out in Tampa?
Through the bank.
Through the bank?
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, we've used SCED before.
Okay.
But even the banks sometimes are,
Right.
because they want to fund it themselves.
Sure, but it's usually an auction.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think the information's out though? I mean, I guess that was my question. Not
Well,
just how.
you can always improve it.
Yeah.
Communication. It's time and cost.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know if anybody else, I mean, in the bigger cities, you've got somebody to work and help you, but maybe, but the little towns don't have, so.
That being with through, you know, all the COVID situation, they've increased staff by almost 100% in Wichita.
Wow.
Got more grant writers. This Gloria that did ours, Cdbg, she's got her daughter sitting beside her now learning it.
Wow.
So,
Well, thank you. Appreciate that, because, and those things are something we work on to get it out to our people.
but you know, the weatherization program is a great tool in this county because, you know, we have a lot of towns that have older homes in them and a lot of people qualify income-wise.
Mhm. There at one time, one of the programs, I don't know whether it was SCED or whether it was HUD, one of them was to put air conditioners in. They would just put the heaters in. That's all they would put.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the air conditioning, but the
Yeah.
furnaces they do.
Okay.
But what's kind of nice about it, even on a rental, they're going by the tenant's income, not the landlord's.
Oh, wow. That's
That's a good deal.
So
Yeah.
landlords can,
Come out good on that.
it's a really good deal for landlords.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments? Anybody else you got?
Well, I wanted to give you an update on the actual CDBG loan program. Commissioner Becker mentioned it. Just one sec. So we have total remaining funds for businesses in the amount of $27,492.90 that have not been actually expended. Some of those were awarded, but I think that the businesses may not be able to utilize the full amount. So we still have $27,492.90, and then in the food program area, we have $25,123.33 still available after awarding $9,876.67 to the Peabody Food Bank. So we had, I had a meeting with our representatives at SCAD last week to see about how we could maybe try to expend the remaining funds and support the program, any additional programs or businesses. And so I think that we may just have to start advertising again. It's still only for the peak time period of March through December of last year. You still have to have at least 51% of your employees below to moderate income level, and you have to be able to certify that. So
March through December of 2020.
Of 2020, right. And so that's what the grant can cover, is expenses for those time periods. We have to actually expend everything through our grant and close it out by June 15th of this year. So we did meet the threshold of expending at least half our funds, and so we do not have to return the full grant, but any funds not expended through the grant would then just be returned to the Department of Commerce. And we cannot support, like for the food, you know, we had that meal program amount was $35,000, and I think that the Peabody Food Bank has been reimbursed everything that they really, all of the eligible expenses that they have. We cannot support a food program in another community that already received a Cdbg grant, so we can't support one in Marion or Hillsborough. And you might remember that when we applied for this grant, it was put out there, we applied and were awarded before the cities were awarded, and our intention was to cover the whole county, and then the cities received their own funding. So every business we were already working with that was in the city limits of one of the cities that received funding had to be transferred to those cities. And so, you know, we may not be able to expend all these funds, but I just wanted to give you an update where we are.
Is there any town that in anybody's district they know of
So,
that hasn't been mentioned so far?
on the food bank, so the only place we can use it is in Florence and Burns and Tampa.
Right, I mean, we could use it anywhere in the county except for Hillsborough or Marion.
No place has.
But food programs, I mean, I don't know of any other ones.
Yeah.
I've tried working with the school districts, and they had their own funding for their food programs, so they didn't, so the things they wanted to use our funds for wouldn't qualify. So anyway, just kind of an update there. I feel like, and this grant that particularly, they awarded it, and then they changed all the rules after, which has been really frustrating.
You know,
but-
on the business one, it's gotta be, can't be anybody in the city limits.
Of Marion or Hillsborough, correct. It can be anywhere else. And we've funded people in different areas. Quite a few of the ones we funded have been in Peabody. There's been one in Burns. Yeah.
Does the board want to go ahead and put an advertisement in to retry to get somebody to just come in?
Send an email to the other city councils, and like Florence and Burns and Tampa. Let them know that's available.
You know, just try to get rid of it rather than send it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
Yeah.
good idea. I don't think
Y'all
a
heard?
newspaper ever do any good. The elected officials of the cities,
John, handle that, Tina?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you don't want a newspaper ad?
I don't think it is beneficial.
Okay. I can also share a little blurb on social media,
Good.
because
Yeah.
not everybody that has a business is within a city limit of a town. So. Okay, we'll keep working on it and see if we can get some more of those awarded. So that was all I had on my list, I believe, for admin. I do have a question. There's a comment that's been typed into the chat, and it specifically is a question for the sheriff, but generally we do public comments at the beginning and the end of the meeting, and so this may or may not be something the sheriff is prepared to answer on today. So I didn't know what the board would like to do, if we just read that out during public comment, or how you would like to handle that question.
What we've been doing in the past, it's been waiting till the public comment and then reading it out.
Yeah.
That way we have hiding it from anybody.
Yeah.
It's been put out.
Right.
It just has to wait its time.
Read it to public comment.
Okay.
We can do that.
All right, that's what we will do then. I will read the comment during the public comment time. And I'll make a copy of it too, so that the sheriff can be sure and have it.
I read it, I can speak to it briefly.
What, you read it?
Yeah,
Oh,
up there.
yeah, that's not the whole thing, there's
Oh.
more. That's part of it, so.
We'll read it out, and then we can give it to Rob, and he can be sure his answer, whatever he has to say. Is that good,
Okay.
Rob? You?
That works.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll read it during public comment.
And I would like y'all to see, in case you haven't seen it, the north steps that what we're talking about there. I don't know, there's a cavity underneath there that I'm worried about, just from what I've seen in the picture, it don't show the cavity.
Right.
There.
We'll go look at it later.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
That'll
asked
work.
that the commission will take a look at that.
Okay, all righty. Does that take care of it then for you?
Well, I think so. What they talked about doing was, for me to try to develop a scope of work based on kind of the information we received from the one company, send it out for bids for current,
Do they
to
know-
contractors that.
Does the rest of these people know you? No, that's good. That's a good idea. And will be quite interesting, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sheriff Rob Kraft. Morning.
Morning.
Thank you. Guess what I wanted to really speak to you about is some unused vacation hours that I have a couple people that have that I want to carry over. They've been unable to utilize those hours just because of staffing and manpower and everything that's going on in jail and with the whole world. So I would ask that we carry over vacation hours for Under Sheriff Huntley and Administrator Philpott. Administrator Philpott even tried to take some last week, but got called back in on one of these vacation days because shortages and ended up going to Wichita and El Dorado for transport. So I would ask that it's roughly 70 hours for Administrator Philpott and roughly 42 for Under Sheriff Huntley that we carry over. Give them an opportunity. It's not that they haven't tried on occasion to utilize these, but it just hasn't worked. So
Think the next 60 days it can be accomplished?
we can try if
This is
things,
ours.
if things don't change. You know, it doesn't. It's difficult to give a set time because, like I say, we tried to use some of the gyms last week and we canceled them. So I will have them attempt to get as many as they can within that time frame.
I was just either 60 or 90, whatever we normally do when the department head comes in, Rob. I was just trying to be fair with the rest of the departments and stuff.
Understand them then.
Yeah. Anybody else have any suggestions?
90 days maybe?
Maybe 90?
Yeah, I think 90 to 120 days is, this is gonna be a busy time going in the spring, you know.
It always is.
Crime. Yeah. Always. Yeah. All I can say is I will let them know and we will make every effort to utilize those. Hopefully it does happen.
Any resolution on that?
Generally we do, yes.
I'd go ahead and make a motion to authorize Sheriff Kraft to utilize that carryover for Officer Philpott and Officer Huntley in the amount of hours that they have to be used in the next 120 days.
Second.
Second by Jonah. Motion by Kent, second by Jonah. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you for that as well. You
probably saw the last few weeks, we had a new video system that we've been working on, and that, you approved some funding for that. That's up in place and running, and it's fabulous. If you care to come see it, please do. It's night and day different from what we had, which was, reached its lifespan and giving us fits and problems and everything. So I thank you for that. It's a world of difference in there. One thing I did want to bring up new that we're kind of looking at, our old radio tower out here on the hill west of town that utilized the old frequencies. I've been in contact with some radio maintenance personnel about putting some 800 equipment in that tower, because we do have a generator there, we do have a backup system. We would have to do the 3 channels, EMS, fire, and law, but it would give us a redundant kind of a backup system in case the large state tower goes down. That's kind of what and I'm just in the process of seeing what it would cost and, feasibility and things like that, so that we would have an idea if we decide to go that route. I don't know whether it's $5 or 500,000. At this point, I can't answer that. But just something that we're looking at to help us in a situation when if we do lose, a big tower.
Go ahead, John.
Would it also, I know you don't know it right now, but if it would help the efficiency of the radios?
It wouldn't change that any. It would, in fact, what it would do, we wouldn't have the same coverage that we do have. We would have because it's not quite the height of the tower, and the system that we would put in is not near what the state operates on. Our 800 system will communicate anywhere in the county. We just have difficulty sometimes in basements or in metal buildings. That's the 800 system. That's the frequency. There's, any place that operates on 800 has that scenario in there. As far as I can talk from one corner of the county, which is far better than I ever could before, on our old system. So we've gained in that. We've lost a little bit in other areas that we've gained in overall performance and ability to communicate.
This is just a in-case standby tower.
Yes.
It's not a repeater. It's not.
It would be, it would be somewhat of a repeater, but they're a little different animal on the 800 thing than they are in the old system. It's not quite the same operational system, but it would just provide us a backup in case this tornado would take it out. A maybe catastrophic event, we would lose the big tower. We would probably still be on site trunking, which just means it wouldn't go from one tower to the next. We do go on site trunking like we were at the point this weekend because of maintenance that was done on the tower. They updated the microwave. They replaced the microwave equipment out here. So when that happens, we go to the tower just fine, and our circle of transmission is still here, but we lose the ability if I'm over here to go to Chase Tower and come back to Marion Tower. That's what site trunking does. It just keeps it all on that tower, and wherever you're in this core area, that's what you have. It wouldn't alleviate that any, but it would still give us the core area, which is the majority of the county. Probably 75%. We would lose maybe the northwest, northeast corner, southwest, and southwest corner, the farthest areas from the tower. But this would be something that would benefit us in the long run, in case that other tower does take a tumble or a complete meltdown with lightning or whatever occurs.
You guys didn't pick a good weekend, because I was out in it Saturday and Sunday, and the wind was blowing pretty good out in the country both days. So
yeah,
trying to do something on that tower just probably wasn't too.
Yeah, they had it back up and running Friday.
Did they?
I noticed during the accident out here that we were under site trunking, which was just the luck of the draw when they chose to do that. But everything, you know, didn't diminish our communications any, because we were still in that core area out here.
I would like to visit Rob with, since we made the switch, we've been criticized by other departments by not being able to go to the basements, go to the stuff like that. Give me a rundown, Rob, of right now, is any of that equipment of it still running in your sheriff dispatch that we had before?
No.
It's not running?
No.
Okay.
No, we had to, you know, cost-wise, we couldn't afford, I mean, and we talked about this way back when.
Yeah.
We were needing to upgrade millions of dollars to our old equipment and put up new towers and total revamp of our old system at a cost of way more than we could afford. And so we looked at other options, which was the 800, which is state-owned and operated tower. It provides us, you know, great communications out and around. We did give up some of that basement, and those are only in the farther reaches of the county as well. I mean, some of the central areas are a little better. You know, we could build a system that would do that.
I think not only the basements and stuff, the big thing is the firemen, and I don't know if it's changed any, Rob, but the first 2 years there we've done that a lot of the firemen that have to have their phone or repeater or radio right beside them couldn't get it down to where it shut it just to their frequency. And
No, that's all been reorganized and redone.
I haven't heard it lately, but
So, yeah, it's when they're on page, you know, depending on how they set up their portable and how they operate their portable. Yeah, if they go to a page, then they won't get anything other than what their department gets paged to. And that's one thing.
that was quite an issue because they was getting woke up all night.
Right, they were,
Yes.
and that was one of the things that we addressed early on and tried to.
Are they still having some of the issues in the metal buildings?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Metal buildings
that can only be resolved by another piece of equipment in the building, I guess.
More than likely, yeah.
Cell phones
Standard,
don't work in metal buildings either.
It's the 800, 900, 700 frequencies that are really stymied by metal buildings. The older, you know, frequencies had a little better wavelength that would penetrate some of the metal. 800, 900, 700 are difficult to get to penetrate metal buildings and such. But you know, the FCC is moving all emergency services towards a 700, 800, or 900 system. Whether they're overtly doing it or doing it just because of the things that allow on the old system. You know,
Okay.
So
Has McPherson County implemented their new 800 system?
they're in process.
Will that be of any benefit to
It might.
Marion County?
It might. It might as well, because that's just another set of towers that might be, that will be on, that will be turned on. And we can, you know, hit those as well, which might address some of that stuff. I can't say for sure one way or the other, but that there's a possibility.
They're not just going off the state tower, they're going off their own towers?
Yes, at a huge cost to McPherson County, millions and millions of dollars to do so. Us, Chase County and Morris counties and those, you know, we're all operating off the state towers because we couldn't necessarily afford $4 or $5 million to put up more tower. You know, it's kind of, you know, what we can afford to do and what we'd like to do are not necessarily the same. I would love to put up more towers and have more, you know, especially in the northern part, where probably the bigger concern. But can we afford to? If you come up with the money, we'll come up with the plan to put them up. Well, no problem with that. I just know what it costs per tower to do so, and you're looking at about $1 million. And so, how many you can afford to put up when you go to do so? or we, you know, we could have stayed with the old system, and I don't want to beat this subject to death, because we've discussed this for years, but we could have stayed with the old system and invested millions of dollars to update it, to maintain it with the old system. But there again, we'd already been narrow banded once. They were in schedule to do it again, but every time they narrow band it cost us 25 to 30% of our range. So they narrow banded once, and we lost 25 to 30% of our coverage. So in order to get that coverage back, we would have had to install more towers, more equipment to maintain that. They're in process of narrow banding a second time, which would put us down to 50% roughly of our previous coverage. So at some point in time, if we're going to have to install, you know, millions of dollars worth of towers or move over to a different system, which is what we chose to do, one that we could afford and still give us good coverage. Metal buildings are a pain, and I get that. But there's ways, there's frequencies built into these that if they're talking person to person, they can go inside, outside metal buildings on scene. That's built into the system. It doesn't go to a tower, but it goes to your command post, which is supposed to be set up outside, and they can communicate with the world. And these persons inside the building, if they need to communicate, there's a frequency that goes direct from here to there, if they utilize it. If they don't utilize it, then, you know.
But sometimes having enough people to set a command center up just don't work.
Absolutely, that's in a perfect world.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well.
But anyway, that's just something we're looking at is an additional, just going to get the basics and the cost and see if it's even feasible. You know, if it comes back to, you know, an ungodly amount of money, then no, I wouldn't even approach you guys with it. But if it's something that I think may be of you know, of value to this county emergency service, I would definitely bring it to you, at least for discussion.
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, the improvement is great, because there was times where even with the repeaters before, it was tough to get out.
There were parts of the county on the old system that we could not communicate with dispatch. Anything east of Florence was done. Anything along the east part of the county and even the south part, we had absolutely zero communication inside the car or out of the community. We picked that up.
Thank you. Anybody else got any comments?
One thing I'd like to really, and I know you've discussed this in the past amongst yourselves, the salary thing, and where I'm at now is I would like to request the addition of 2 jail staff, minimum 1, just because of requirements and things, mandates and things that have come about, and the amount of court time that we're doing. I've got 4 or 5 going to court this morning. I had to call Jim all these days on his vacation. Just a lot of things like that. Jim can't get his vacation because he's filling slots and things like that. I would like you to consider, you know, somewhere in your discussions and meetings, I'd like to throw that out there. You know, 2 would be great. 1 is, you know, it's a start. It's something that we've needed, and you know, this has been building for the last couple of years. And you know, when we built this, I said, yeah, we can do it with, you know, 4 jail minimum. You know, minimum. Well, we've made it work, and I'm going to ask that we get away from the absolute bare bones minimum now to something that is more efficient, more effective for personnel and things as well, and also consider their salaries. You know, at $13, you know, I'd like to move them to 15, because it's just, you know, I can get staff, but when I lose 2 of them within 6 months' time because of nothing but pay that are really good personnel, I have to let that be known that it is an issue that is impacting that, and especially that position.
We're working on that right now. We're gonna.
And I thought you were, and I just wanted to.
But as far as acting, when we get to that department, and she's gonna ask department heads, right, and elected department heads again on some of the stuff that.
Well, on some, if they've had changes, you know, to the structure of the department, or, I don't think that there was too many structural changes in the sheriff's office, so I don't know that was,
No.
I mean, she was gonna update the salary schedules and then present
Yeah.
that, so we'll have to look. So it'd be just a matter of the board
Correct.
taking action to
Right.
move them to the correct wage.
Yeah.
And you didn't budget for this year?
No, that has not been, budgets were set up
Okay.
very similar to last year, you know. And I would just like to request that you strongly look at these two issues, as far as my department.
Okay.
Where you're looking.
Well, we all know that salary's not probably where it should be, and because of type work that they do and things like that.
And understand, you know, money's an issue, and it always will be, and
Yeah. Agreed.
You have a budget to handle another jailer?
I would have to seriously look at it. I'm gonna say not within that line item, no. In the overall jail, I don't know, you know, whether we could move things, and it's in the general, so we could move things back and forth. But I don't know, right on hand, I'd say probably not.
I mean, if there was a way to do it, and then, you know, through the budgeting process for 2022, to include, whether that be one or two, in that budgeting process.
You know, and that would be, you know, something that we could, you know, discuss and look at and see. And
That'll come up before we know.
That's right.
Yeah, that'll be here before we know it. Just kind of, something in your, you know, the plant that, you know, plant to see that this is truly needed, and, there is just reason, there is good valid reason for it.
Well, with COVID too, I mean, I don't know how many people, jailers you lost, but I know one you had, at least one case you had over there.
Yeah, I lost 2 within 6 months. I mean,
No, I'm talking about for COVID.
Oh, COVID, yes, that took a toll on some, and that's a lot of why Jim has so many hours of vacation, because he would fill in, and, you know, he worked, you know, at one point 8 days straight, because I could not get him the day off, and that was hard on him and the family.
But I mean, if you're not staffed properly right now, I guess it would be wise to see if there's a way that we can move some money around within your budget, so you can at least get one hired.
Yeah, I would definitely sit down and look at that and take a hard look at it. You know, our budget is contingent upon things, and I know some things that have occurred with medical issues that are going to take a chunk of our budget that was probably as much or more than we had expected for the year, but those things are unforeseen, and they continue to.
Because that's got a lot of.
2021?
Okay.
For 2021?
21, yes, we had provided some medical treatment for an inmate, the current inmate that will be there for some time probably, that is outside of our normal budget, the legal guideline requirements.
Yeah.
Require that we do so.
Yeah, in case any new commissioner don't know, if something
Yeah.
happens to them inside the jail.
They were on the last page.
Okay.
It's our Marion County's responsibility to, you know, to see to it that they come in as good a shape as they come in, or leave in as good a shape. We don't have to, you know, fix everything, but we have to keep them with sound medical.
Understaffing leads to the consequence where you have to come in and ask for vacation time to be carried over.
Yes, yes, it does. It's a big part of it, that, you know, if we can't cover the shift, which I have to cover, the personnel, that, yeah, limits their ability to.
Thank you, Rob. I mean, unless you got something else.
I have one other thing, but it would be a personnel issue. And I would request, 5, maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. 10 minutes.
Would the topic be for specific performance?
For medical.
Okay.
Personnel performance.
No, it's,
Medical concerns.
FLMA.
well, it's not FMLA because I don't have any forms for that, so it'd be just for medical concern is fine for the topic, and it'd be personal matters of non-elected personnel. is the
For shared
exception.
leave on the medical.
Move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss personnel matters pursuant to ASA 75-4319B for personnel matters, non-elected personnel.
So specific, your topic is medical.
For shared leave.
With medical reasonings, with the board and Sharon Kraft. Would you like Tina to be here too?
Sure.
Okay. And Tina? We'll go from 10:07 to 10:17. And we'll resume back in here at 10:17. That's my motion.
Second.
Kent seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. 5-0.
Okay, we will be back in 10 minutes. Got to take a minute here and turn things off, so
Thanks a lot.
just give me a second here.
Kind of heads up all on one while, and just because of things they had going on and didn't want to go on, and so therefore it limited what we could do.
Charging people, taking them to court in a speedy trial.
Those were kind of on hold, and so at one point we were, getting the jail very full because we couldn't get them into court, so we kind of had to get creative on who came to jail and why, and a little more.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, out of executive session, no decisions made. Well, Rob, thank you for giving us the updates, and any commissioner, I think Rob said that before the executive session started, any commissioner that wants to go over, go right ahead and visit. Is there anything you do to the public if they ever want to? Do you ever set anything up?
What we do, and we kind of have, to some groups, we have brought in and shown them the jail facilities, but we can't go clear into every part of the facility, but we can show them the inner core, the inner workings and a brief overview. But we can't do we still do the nickel tour, not the quarter tour.
I haven't put it that way lately, but I haven't had somebody ask lately. I mean, usually, every once in a while you have somebody ask, but I just haven't had anybody ask.
Well, we reserve that for civic groups or scouts or, government school, government classes in schools and colleges that we have done, so. Very good.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
No, but you know what I did? I copied and pasted it onto a Word document, so I would have it.
Because they just disappear when you go.
Oh,
I don't see anything.
So yes, I have it.
Okay. I was like, oh,
Good job.
man.
Yeah, good job.
Don't trust her.
No, I was just thinking myself. I didn't even think about it.
You mentioned it, yeah, and I didn't think about it either.
Since that was such a long one, I had, and plus I wanted to make sure that the sheriff receives it. Since he won't be here when it's read, I need a document with that on there.
Mr. Bryce?
Yeah, good.
Morning.
Morning.
first thing, area fuel bids. We had two bidders, MFA and EPS. EPS was low bid on all three areas, and Co-op did not bid because they didn't know if they were gonna have enough 50-50 blend to take care of the mud.
You guys, I've got
Okay.
one here.
Yep.
Just one
Oh,
second,
sorry.
they're saying that our audio is not working.
Did you guys get bids?
Yes.
I've got plenty.
They said it
Okay,
should be.
can I go back out and then come back in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
To go outside to there. No, go over
Well, I've got plenty of bids. Everybody got
there.
Okay, I've got to go out and then I'll come back in.
one? Go ahead.
Sorry about that.
And that one more time.
Get to behave.
I will.
All I got to say about that is that's like the pop call and kettle
Got
black day.
technical difficulties.
You know, you gotta behave to it.
And I just relaxed everything.
Gotcha, sure.
Has to wash their eyes. So if they
Yeah,
get
oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah, that's just a lot better on this side.
It's cold over there.
It is, this is really on behind me.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we're back on line here. Everything seems to be good, Tina?
Can someone let me know if you can hear us on the electronic meeting now?
You're good, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, area fuel bids, EPS was low at $12,246.05 versus MFA at $12,914.40. So I'd make a motion to go with EPS fuel bids at $12,246.05. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Dave?
I second.
You can't. Can't tell down there. Kent second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Just FYI, we did get notification that MFA is moving their office to Lincolnville. That little convenience store place out right there on the corner, just different address, different phone number, that's all we really heard, so. Last week, he asked about the pay estimate for NF Construction. I made up a spreadsheet here showing what they're requesting and then how much is left. So they're requesting the $47,340.
Stream bank.
This the one that started on?
This is the one that they are essentially finished north of Florence on 130th. All we have left is seeding, which we made the request, or I guess I approved the request to hold off another week or two to get the ground a little warmer. And so I'm guessing if everything holds out, maybe the next week we'll get it seeded, and then we'll pay for that. They have gone up to the 350th of Sunflower. They started there last Thursday. We had a little bit of a elevation issue. The NRCS come out, they raised the elevation by a foot of the rock. They anticipate being done there this week. So maybe we turn around and in the meantime, I can get well, if they do get that done this week, I'll probably just put it all together for reimbursement to the NRCS for the whole thing. Because by the time you go through that process, it takes 4 to 6 weeks for them to.
Does that have inspections on it?
The NRCS is expecting it.
So they've already done the inspection on the part of it we're paying for?
Oh, yeah, they have daily inspection.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they've had, Sweetup, retired up there, one how they hired him back as a contract. He's been down there basically every day they're working. So-
Okay.
So,
Any problems with anybody? Anybody have any?
I was just looking at the seating. You got 700 plugged in here.
yes.
Should be 7,000.
No.
No.
It's 0.2 acres instead of the
Oh,
2
okay.
acres.
Yeah.
That was with our, when I turned in the bid, we caught that and he said, yeah, he would still agree to do it for that price.
All right, yeah.
Yep,
I get you, I seen it now.
yep. So,
Okay.
So can we get a motion and vote to approve the, oh, sorry.
I don't hear no more discussion. With all that being said, I'd make a motion to pay the $47,340 as requested for a pay estimate. Is there a second? Dave Mueller, second. All those in favor of that, say aye.
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 all right, had tree trimming bids come in, sorry. Last Friday, we had 3 bids that were turned in. One was Arbor Masters, one from Alcon, as well as Pasture Clearing Solutions. Arbor Masters was low bid. They were at, was it $35,640 or something like that, but they are getting us a $2,500, 15 or 2,500, I'm not sure what it's written on there, deduct for doing all of it. So that would be the low bid. Alcon was at $41,291. Pasture Clearing Solutions was at $77,050. So verify all those numbers, Randy, they're written on there. So.
Is that the name of the company, Pasture Clearing?
No,
That's
no,
the high bid.
that's just one of the bids.
Okay.
There's-
I mean, that's.
Yes,
that is-
Pasture Clearing Solutions was the bid there.
What was the little bit?
Was
Arbor Master.
Arbor Masters. They're out of Wichita. They've actually bid on stuff with the county lake too.
I'll make a motion to approve Arbor Master. Being that Elkhorn didn't get the bid, I can go ahead and do that.
35,640.
Well, no,
Thirty-
if we award everything, it would be $33,140.
Oh, and the deduct.
33,
Yeah.
40?
33,000.
That's with the credit.
Correct. Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Yes, hang on a second.
I was just wondering if you could just read the bids out for the
Yes.
meeting, please.
And they'll have to be checked for insurance and stuff like this, correct?
The Arbor Masters actually included their insurance with it, so.
Okay. Arbor Masters, what they had here was $35,265 total bid price, $2,500 less if awarded full contract, $32,765 price if awarded full contract. So that was theirs.
32,765.
Yeah, that's what's on the paper.
That need to go to the actual bid. They had an error on their bid. They forgot to add in one of their line items, so I called in this morning. They submitted, it was just $375 more. Did you see that on the? I
Yes,
should have all.
it says minus 2,500 discount if we
Right.
accept.
Yes,
That would be 33,140, all bid then.
yes.
Okay, it is your 33,140. That's for Arbor Masters. Alcon, tree trimming. Would be no good to do that. The last page. $41,291, tree trimming. And pasture clearing. A bid for $77,050. They've got it priced out on different places. So we have a motion. Now, I forgot who.
It was Joan.
For Arbor. Yeah, Joan did. Who's second? Dave Mueller. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Nobody opposed.
All right.
The Arbor Masters.
Last week, you asked about rocks.
Wait a minute, I have some discussion on that.
Okay.
I've been approached by, and I know what I told them was, they was asking how come we're taking bids and not doing this more in the wintertime and people, with our people. And so, and I said, well, the only thing I did is I said, I asked a long time ago when we put the culverts out what we was gonna do with trees. And said we was gonna do some, but then I see it's all on a bid here now, so, let's stay consistent, what we're, I don't wanna be told something and then something else comes in.
Well,
But I know that people have been busy too, so.
The biggest thing we're looking at is just due to the lack of help.
Yes.
You know, our culvert crew's down to one CDL driver and basically 2 EL1s right now. So we're trying to get that stuff done. You know, we're short the truck drivers. It's just been a matter of, as far as hauling rock and putting in culverts have been a higher priority than doing the trees. As much as anything, and I really can't say anything else. I would love to say we could go out and do this, but like I said, just getting ready for spring, the biggest thing I'm concerned about is trying to get culverts and stuff like cleaned down with debris and stuff, so we don't have the floods. So we're hoping we can get to that. But I honestly, I'd love to do everything in-house, but we're just not getting to it, and we're getting to the point where some of these trees are encroaching into the roads. They're getting not enough clearance underneath them, and we're gonna end up with a liability if something gets hit and causes more damage, so.
Okay, and just, you know, if there's change plans, I'd like to know it.
Oh, yeah, well, and honestly, this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as trees. We've got county roads all over the place, same way.
We did have a budget of $10,000 a year to hire an outside guy out there, and I can tell you, that gentleman gets right down the road and does a nice job and stays, I don't know if he's still in business from.
Was it Mount Ridge?
Yeah, Mount Ridge or someplace over there.
Yeah, and we had looked at that too, but we were just, he uses the big, cut and everything else. We're hoping this will be a little cleaner operation, and it's along paved roads too. That's the other thing that we want to make sure try to get cleaned up. So.
Is this just trimming, or is this got some removal also?
Very few removals. What I said was if something was out there and it was more conducive to cut the tree off the ground, and talking, every one of them called me and asked me that question, and nobody had a problem with it. It's not going to be many of them. We just want to get them cleared back to 10 foot off the shoulder. So. Good.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Bryce.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last week you asked about rock storage maps. I have 5 pictures on here on basically on K-15 all the way from the county line north. I kind of marked some areas that could be used. I haven't contacted any of them simply because I just get your input. Probably the one that I thought would be the best location would be the last one, just north of 90th on the west side of the road. It's probably a 10+ acre tract. Has a creek running through it that is grassland. I tried to find areas of grassland or whatever else to where they weren't cultivated fields or whatever else. So just some options. As far as, again, how much we would need would depend on the size and shape of the storage unit or the storage area. But I don't know if you guys want to look at those. We can make a decision, or look at them and then make a decision, or look into comments next week, whatever you want to do. So
All the landowners have been
I
contacted?
have not contacted any of them. That's why I
just wondered how many of them are even receptive.
Well, and like I said, you kind of wondered about that, so I can take that information and get back with them, see what they want, but just give you an idea where I was kind of looking at. So now we can't really make a decision based on that. So
Okay, how close is your next one to any of these?
they go from north of 90th, and I think my next one was up at between 150th and 160th. There's like 2 or 3 of them there, one up by 170th, and then one up by 190th. So.
I'd say the best thing to do is contact all of these people and see if it's even a problem.
Well, like I said, you guys just asked.
Because we might say, oh, we want it here, and
sure.
we're not.
Well, like I said, I'll come back with, try to get a hold of this next week and get back with this. So.
I'm going to ask it again. How close is the closest spot to this from up north, over east, down any place else south, in order to this, so that we can determine the miles that you'll be covering between these locations?
The storage, the 2,000 tons we have stored is up at the Durham mixing strip from KDOT.
Okay.
And the other one that we have right now, or the other 2 we have, we're working on storage at the South Shop for that Waverly Rock, as well as the Lincolnville maintenance strip also.
South Shop and then Lincolnville.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, like I said, the farther, I see south and west we would go would be beneficial as far as over there. So, but anyway.
Because I know some of these down south, like I said last week, they'd rather have sand than rock.
Right, right. And you know, we're right now we haul sand on the backhaul. I mean, because we're not really using that. So that's the other thing, is we could go back to a straight haul and have somebody hauling directly. Again, that hurts us now. We're down to 3 dump truck drivers, I should say. So,
I was gonna say, if we're down to 3 dump trucks, where's all of them at? Bone pile?
what's happening? No, the trucks are sitting there, it's the
Okay.
drivers, yeah.
Okay, I just wondered.
Now, I'm not saying we couldn't take some of those trucks to
Yeah.
the bone pile, but yeah, we're still making them work, but.
All right.
So anyway, I will contact these people and, like you said, maybe none of them are interested, whatever, so.
Yeah.
But I'll get back with you. I turned in that high-risk roads project for 130th on Indigo last week, so that was, they sent an email Friday, said they received that. And I just heard this morning, there's another email come out that KDOT opened up their cost share program for this year. It opened today and closes April 9th. They have received some COVID, I guess federal COVID money that they are going to put into this program. So they're going to drop the cost share from 80-20 to 90-10. And still the same situation before. If the county would only have to provide a minimum of 10% to whatever project we're doing, but obviously they're looking at the other investments too, whether counties can put more money into it or whatever else to make the money go farther. But they did receive this extra money, so this part only, they're dropping or changing that to 90-10. So sometime between now and then we have to figure out what we'd like to put into that.
Okay, but bridges?
It's basically anything transportation related, bridges, highways,
You have
stuff
to have
like
a
that.
specific project, don't
Yes,
you?
yes. So we could come up with that. And there are several things that I've thought about, but then I'm also in the process of trying to find out when the bridge set aside program as well as the local bridge improvement program comes open also. Haven't heard when they're coming in, so.
Any of our major critical bridges fracture critical on a major road?
I don't know if we have any fracture critical. One bridge that I can think of in particular is up on 290, it's just west of Nighthawk by Yurok Brothers. That, in fact, is we're out there now cleaning out some drift and stuff like that, but that bridge is narrow. It's probably 20 foot. The rails have been hit on both sides, so that would be a bridge that we could consider there. As far as pavement, I mean, we're looking at, we could put in 190th or Indigo, or basically any of our asphalt roads there for some kind of work.
Have we been turned down on that bridge before?
What's that?
It's been turned in before. We
Okay.
cut the project, or we was turned down on it?
Okay, I'm not aware of that, but.
Or you guys, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's just like anything else, they're gonna receive several $100 million worth of requests and, the money they have. So again, that's what helped us on Nighthawk, was upping our percentage that the county wanted to pay, plus the letters of support. So we can do the same thing as whatever we consider, but the letters of support go a long way too. So anyway, like I said, it just came out this morning and closes April 9th, so.
And I have to get some help on 190th, because I mean, that's on schedule to be resealed and
Yeah.
blade patched and everything else. I mean,
Yeah, we're fortunate where we could make some changes there, but we would, if they close it April 9th, we should hear by, I'm guessing, mid-May, so we could still make some adjustments there too. So, and even if it is an asphalt overlay, we could probably still get it bid and done yet this year by then, if we really pushed it. So anyway, just something to think about next couple weeks on.
What about, do we have the material for the chip and seal already?
Yes,
Or?
yes. But I mean, we can hold that over to next year. That's not a problem, so. Yeah, that stuff source is fine, so.
Well, I'm just thinking it'd look better on total cost if we had material bought for it.
Well, it depends on what we want to do, whether we want to do the chip seal, but, honestly, I would say that I would say it'd be more beneficial to go after a overlay or something to that effect, simply because you're talking a higher dollar value, and the 10% of the higher dollar value, we'd go farther. The chip seal stuff is, we're getting a lot more out of an overlay than we are chip seal. But like I said, we've got some time to think about it. But so, and then on the NRCS, like I said, they're going to hopefully finish up this week up there, so we'll be done with that. So I think that was it, unless you guys have something else.
How many people are you short right now?
Too many. Best guess, we're at the 11 to 12 range, and that doesn't include part-time people. and I'm gonna lose another one in June, going back to school. So,
Part-time person or
full-time.
full-time?
I don't have any part-times right now. So we're at that stage now where we need to start looking at them, to get some high school kids or whatever else, but.
I was gonna say, how much advertising do you do for these college kids or high school kids?
Well,
in the summertime?
we usually put stuff in the paper, whatever else. A lot of things, again, I think we get better support, whatever else, is word of mouth. If people know somebody that, that's how we've got the last several of them. They've been friends of people that have worked there and things like that. We always have ads in the,
We started a program before you to where each commissioner tried in his district to pull one, at least the first round, to pull a student or somebody out of each district.
yeah. Well, and we've had some people say that, you see these little wire signs that are out all over the place, hey, we're hiring here. Well, some of my guys said, let's try some of those. I mean, they're the same way, trying to think whatever we can, but, again, when we're starting at $13 an hour, and that's assuming we can get anybody to even apply. We went to online stuff with national companies. We get some responses, but most of them are like, no, can't do it for that kind of money. It comes down to that thing more than anything else. So, but we will, continue to work on that. Like I said, especially like the younger kids and stuff like that, it doesn't really do much good to put things in the paper because they don't read the paper.
Right.
We put them on Facebook. They're on the county website too. So it's just frustrating all around. I don't know of anybody that's really full of help and has turned.
I know we're not geared for that much training, but I know from a specific example out in western Kansas back in whenever oil was so high, county pretty much lost all their main heavy equipment operators to the oil field.
Yeah.
And they finally came up with the idea that they would hire seniors in high school and put them out there and train them, have a trainer. That's the only way they were getting their roads bladed.
Yeah. Well, and
Plus it was on-the-job training. And
Sure. And it's still the biggest thing is that, I don't know, but I'm a boy who likes toys, as far as working on equipment and stuff like that. But kids today, some of them don't know what they want to do, and they've, and to be honest with you, like running a piece of equipment, you not only have to be trained, but you have to have the attitude and mentality for it too.
Well, that's just
You just can't believe
it's just like you said, we try to hire people out of Beloit where they're actually training them. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the big construction companies have them
Yeah.
hired before they
Yeah.
ever even get close to.
Yeah, for, half again as much or more.
Right.
So, but no, man, we're open to suggestions because we're just, and as a matter of fact, we've already talked about it, that with the amount of rock that we need to go down in places, that we're probably gonna turn around and contracting that back out and then making exact where we're gonna take it, things like that.
That's where it's coming to.
Yeah. I hate to do that, but I mean, we've gotta get the rock on the road too, so. But we're making a plan for that, so.
Thank you, Brian.
All right.
Any
All right,
questions?
thanks.
Anybody else have anything for Brian?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
2020.
Marion County leadership, Angie, take care of, and we'll get the hold her on the web.
Yeah, she's on. We have several people from the Community Foundation on. I see Raquel Thiessen is on. So I know Angie was on. Yep, let me see if I can get a better view here. Okay. And whoever's going to be speaking first. Okay, I see you unmuted, Angie. That's good. Okay.
Yes.
Well, Angie, good morning.
Good morning.
And I believe this was sort of put together by Tina a little bit to see if we could get this back together and stuff like this. And so we'll let you go ahead and talk a little bit and see what we can do with this program.
Sounds great. I'll give a little bit of an overview for anyone that isn't as familiar with Central Kansas Community Foundation. We are your community foundation system in Marion County with 4 of our affiliates. We have the Peabody Foundation, the Gossel Community Foundation, Hillsborough Community Foundation and Florence Community Foundation. So I certainly wanted to speak to the fact that while we're the host foundation in Kansas, we are serving your area in a number of ways. We are, is there feedback?
Okay, they're saying there is. Let me, hold on a second. I'll turn our microphone off in here. And you'll just need to go ahead and talk and see if that helps it, okay?
Okay, we'll see if that helps. I could hear a little bit of that kicking back. I think it's better. Is it better? Okay, I'm seeing some heads nodding, so very good. And certainly today we're wanting to just kind of bring an update on two funds that we manage in Marion County. And it is the leadership funds, the Marion County leadership funds. There's one for adults and one for children. We established these funds in 2009 with the local EcoDevo division of the county for performing community leadership programming. Raquel will be speaking a little bit more to curriculum and the details of that, but I wanted to just share a little bit about Kansas Health Foundation out of Wichita, is who entrusted our foundation along with many others across the state to kind of create these community leadership programs as part of their leadership initiative that actually they had started back in the 90s, I do believe. We then began the funds. They seeded these funds in your county for us to manage, where the distributions are to be used for augmenting the programming aspects. So there's a lot of flexibility in how to utilize the funds for the leadership programs, but they are for things like any fees or costs related to development for the leadership program or the projects of the programs. I will note we manage the Newton Leadership Program funds and also Butler County Leadership Funds. And I'm a 2012 graduate of the Leadership Butler program, where I know we use some of the funds for our actual program to bring a speaker in that spoke to all the 9 districts in Butler County on bullying back in 2012. But there's a very vast array of opportunity for developing leaders, emerging leaders, and there can be a youth component. I wanted to additionally share, we still in Marion County have the 2 funds separate, but in 2014, Kansas Health Foundation did lift the requirement to segment the adult and children or youth program from a fund standpoint. Now, there's a lot of us that still see a lot of value in developing our youth and having a component that would relate to youth development and leadership. But as far as a fund, we had created a draft back in 2016 for the existing leader at that time to review, and that never got signed. So at some point that may be a conversation we want to have, but we do have the existing agreements for the leadership and youth program. As of this year, there is about $4,800 per fund available for distribution. We did distribute funds for the program between 2012 and 2016 for the leadership program. And then that is at the point that we did kind of stall the program. And that's why we're here today, is to start the reconvening about how to get this going again in the Marion County region and develop a program that can satisfy the needs of the initial intent from Kansas Health Foundation, who is in close relationships with these programs with the Kansas Leadership Center. And that is where Raquel is a consultant and assists with the actual curriculum and kind of the model for utilization within the county. I think that's going to be kind of my high level here. I'm going to then pass it on to Raquel, and then we're certainly going to entertain questions or more detail, but wanted to kind of start with that overall framework for our discussion today.
All right, thank you, and welcome the rest of you too. I didn't know
Good morning.
Good morning, go ahead.
Is it all right? You want me to, is it all right if I speak now?
Yes, go ahead.
This feels all right?
Yes.
Go
I'll
thank
go.
you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, good morning. My name is Raquel Thiessen. I am with the Kansas Leadership Center and have been acquainted or doing a lot of work with community leadership development programs since the early 1990s. I don't remember the year. It was late 90s, I believe, but I am a graduate of the Leadership Marion County program from way back in the day when I lived in Gossel. So I have a personal experience with the Leadership Marion County program, and then a professional history with leadership programs. My work at the Leadership Center is to, I'm the director of community leadership programs, so anything that looks like a community leadership program, I provide support and consultation to, including situations like this in Marion County where you are considering or thinking about relaunching this program. In particular, most of the work that I do centers around thinking about governance. What sort of board structure do most community leadership programs look to when they're organizing for the first time or maybe reorganizing? That's a particular area I can help with. Also, just bringing to bear some of the best practices in community leadership programming today. What programs look like in the 1990s or the 2000s are not what they look like in 2021. They are growing, evolving, more sophisticated presence in most communities and counties. And so Kansas Leadership Center pays a great deal of attention to best practices, and so I can provide support in that way. Everything from how many hours, how many days does a best practices program contain, how far out is that spread out, is that monthly, every other week, et cetera. I can help you think through that. Even right down to how much of the time you spend is in community awareness, tours, getting to know, networking, contrasted against how much time do you spend on actual leadership development curriculum and developing the capacity of the individuals in your programs. And then in some ways the Kansas Leadership Center supports programs. We do so, we won't provide direct support financially. We won't give you dollars to run your program. That's what those foundation dollars are for that Angie just referenced. But what we do, we support participants in your programs by giving them free access to Kansas Leadership Center programs. We provide training and support to the teaching team staff that is a part of local programs. And then just general support for programs. We do monthly check-ins, there are newsletters, we do continuing education for the boards and teaching team members. And then, maybe you've heard about it or are familiar with the Kansas Beats the Virus work that the Kansas Leadership Center did back late last year, actually late November and all through December. Community leadership programs played a significant role in that statewide initiative that the Kansas Leadership Center launched. And we ended up, we had a contract with the state to convene. We had a goal of 1,000 meetings. We had 856 meetings in the month of December. Grassroots, local level efforts figuring out how to slow the spread of COVID-19. Community leadership programs were our key partners in that work, and of 850 meetings, community leadership programs accounted for about 600 of those meetings. And the return to community leadership programs was in dollars, and there were CLPs from across the state that walked away from that experience with $10,000 to $20,000 in their funds, because they were conveners and facilitators of these local efforts. that's probably a once in a lifetime experience. But we doled out, over $100,000 to CLPs for helping us do that work. That's one example of the way Kansas Leadership Center can support CLPs. So it's about helping you get started. It's about building a sustainable and really strong program, and then supporting the folks that you all engage in providing that program. Once upon a time, there were some restrictions or requirements, maybe it's a better word, in place for what those boards, local governing boards, look like. Those, much like the designation, half of the money for youth development dollars, adult development dollars, those restrictions on the board governance have been lifted also. It's again about best practices. Folks that are running the program probably ought to be paying attention to all aspects of the program, and part of my job is to help you figure out what that sort of local governance would look like. A lot of programs they come in three different categories. They're either run by chambers of commerce, county-wide organizations, or commissions like yourself, or some are just independent nonprofits running themselves as an organization. There are models for all three across the state. The thing I love about KLC is we don't tell you this is how you have to run your program. We'll give you tips and advice and say this is what is happening out there in the state, across the nation, even globally with leadership development, but we won't ever tell you how to run your program. If you want our curriculum, we'll give it to you. It's, use it, whatever. We'll help you incorporate that, but we won't ever say this is how you have to do it. CLPs are as unique as the places they come from, and we want to help you be successful and sustainable in whatever model makes most sense for Marion County. At one point, or some programs used to use or have used in much greater detail than they do today, the class projects. There's a trend away from that. The leadership programs are putting more emphasis on leadership development of the individuals and spending less time, putting less effort and dollars into programs or special projects as part of the class expectation. So sometimes that frees up dollars for the actual program as opposed to a class project. And lots of research and reasons why those class projects are on the downward swing. Kansas Leadership Center does a lot of research, published research in the field of leadership development. And I think the two things that come out of community leadership programs that probably are most attractive to you all, one, participants that run through local leadership programs, they and their employers report that they're better employees and better community members because they participated in a program where actual leadership development curriculum was a part of the experience. The other piece of research I think that you all, well, I don't know, you may love it, you may feel threatened by it, I don't know, you take it how you wish, but community leadership program participants that have utilized or have been exposed to the Kansas Leadership Center curriculum, those participants are 3 times more likely to run for elected office than programs that aren't using a leadership development curriculum. I think that's significant. It is a significant finding in the research, and something that a lot of community leadership programs are discovering is a recruiting tool and a recruiting tool and a way of thinking about just the overall betterment of leadership development in their county. So I wanted to highlight a couple pieces of research, talk to you about best practices, acknowledge the governance and the dollars and some of those restrictions that have been lifted. And then just to say that outside of me, there is an incredible amount of support from across the state from other community leadership programs helping one another, because they've been in your shoes, they are in your shoes, and they're out there to help you reach kind of program that you want to achieve. So it's not, you don't have to depend just on me, but I just want you to know that KLC is there to help you. And
Okay.
I could ramble on for a long time because I'm really passionate about it. I'm just gonna pause and stand for questions.
I do have one question though. Since this
Yeah.
since the Marion County program has been out, and you as a graduate from back then, what was your best experience in the Marion County program at that time that you can remember?
Say that last part
The
again.
best experience or the most worthwhile experience that you had in the Marion County Leadership Program?
Well, interestingly, it was after my Leadership Marion County experience that I decided to run for city council in Gossel. And so I was an elected official in Gossel for 4 years before I ended up moving back to Newton. I grew up in Newton. So it was, I mean, local leadership and public service had always been on my mind, but it was that experience that sort of just put me to the top, was that tipping point for
Okay,
me.
thank you. I just wondered if something stuck right out.
Yep, it did, absolutely.
All righty. Who else is going to speak up here?
There was just Angie and I that were prepared to
Oh, okay.
offer comments, and we wanted to be open to questions from you if you had any, or
Okay.
figure out maybe if there were next steps that we can help with.
Okay, a couple notes that I wrote down from yours was the way it's run is either chamber, countywide, or independent nonprofit. And then the other thing that caught my attention is I remember the class projects that most people had. Everybody seemed to have a class project, and that's leaving. You seem to be leaving that and going to something different. So that's just some things that I've written down. Other commissioners, anything else that you would want to speak about?
I don't know if we want the public to say, I mean, I assume this audience is speaking about this.
Yeah, this is the main reason Randy and I came over today. We would just really like to see.
You want to tell them who you are?
Oh, they all know me. Raquel Thiessen probably doesn't know me real well, but
they can't see who you
I can't
are.
see you.
Can't see you.
Okay. Angie, this is Anthony.
Hello.
So really what we're looking at doing is really restarting the program. It's been dormant for 4 or 5 years now. And this has really been a countywide program in the past. So that's really what we're looking, that's why Randy and I are here, and we want to get this program restarted. And I think so what we're really asking is kind of for your guys' blessing to go ahead and move forward with putting together a proposal, kind of a plan of what we're going to do.
Okay. And I think that's something we all have to sit down, and we haven't really discussed it yet to the point of what the program's going to look like. I know it brings people from Gossel clear to Lincolnville, Lost Springs, all 4 corners, in the middle, everything. There's been a lot of people go through it. So
Yeah.
So I think the commission would like to probably, or needs to, sit down and see what they want to do with it and go with it. Maybe Dave Mueller, have you aware of this? I mean, the program, do you remember?
Yes, I've been through the program.
You've been through the program?
Yes.
Good. Jonah, have you been through it, or remember, you don't know probably what it was, do you? I didn't think, okay. So there's some talking that we have to do too before to get set up and get going here. Kent, anything?
I remember it being pretty vital, had a lot of vitality for a while, and then all of a sudden it was just gone.
Yeah.
Of course, I wasn't an elected official at that time, so I didn't really know what happened, or
Yeah.
interest just waned, or what it was. But
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to get it started again. We need leaders, especially when we're talking about elected officials. The impact that it has on people that might start thinking about, devoting some time to serving county, city, whatever it might be, township. we need those kind of folks again.
Okay.
Those ladies probably won't be able to hear me, but I think the demographics in our county play a large part of this. We're starting to see a lot more 25 to 35-year-olds and struggling to get them involved with the kinds of things we're talking about here. So in our minds, at least, that provides us a nice way to get that done.
There was two other, after we were opening it up here, Becky was one, and there was another lady up there that I'd like to ask. They're on here for some reason, and so I'd like to ask them to speak too. So Becky, go ahead and start us off there. The other one was Christy, so go ahead,
Yes.
Becky. Can't hear you. We can't get you.
We can't hear you, Becky.
Yeah, we had you for a moment and then you're gone. No?
Still not hearing nothing.
She's unmuted, but nothing coming through.
Technology gets us every time. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
Christy could start on Becky's.
Okay, Christy, would jump to you real quick, Lexi?
Well, to be honest
Go ahead.
you, I'm just kind of in listening to see kind of how this program works. I'm the program director at Central Kansas Community Foundation, so I oversee scholarships and grants, and just kind of getting a feel for how this process works. So I don't know that I have a lot to contribute other than just learning more about the program.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Becky, how about you now? Still not.
Sign language.
Virginia Martins is on there too.
Sir, I'd also like to mention Virginia Martins is our director of the Hillsborough Community Foundation affiliate, and she's on the line as well. I'm going to acknowledge her as
Okay.
one of our team members from the foundation also, Virginia Martin.
Okay, Becky, haven't got you in yet?
I don't think in here.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
If you're able to, if you wanted to type anything into the chat bubble, since we can't get your audio, Becky, you're welcome to do that. And then I know Virginia is on, she's muted, so if, Virginia, if you have anything that you wanted to add, you'd need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
yes, yes. Go ahead,
Okay.
Virginia.
I'm fairly new director. I've only been here about a year and 4 months or whatever, so this is very, very new to me. So I'm here just to get information and learn more about the program. But it sounds like a very exciting program for the county.
Okay, well, thank you just for joining in, and so we can all get that same excitement here, so.
Dad, how you move? Hey.
We got an emerging leader in our midst.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Commercial was
I would point out, just so you guys are all aware, because I don't know how familiar you guys are with CKCF, but there's a very large presence on the CKCF board of Marion County. There's, I think, 4 of us, Angie, from Marion County on the board. So Brad Bartle and myself from Hillsborough, Myron Schmidt, I think's his name, from Gospel, and then Patton from Peabody, and then Linda Ogden here in Marion. We all sit on the CKCF board, so there's a very strong presence of Marion County in that organization. And like Angie said, 4 of the communities here in Marion County have a community foundation that's affiliated with CKCF.
Okay, is there?
Becky Nicole has put a comment. She said she's here in her role as affiliate liaison for a Central Kansas Community Foundation. She serves the 4 Marion County affiliates and will be involved to include representation from each of those communities and more in the program.
Well, thank you, Becky.
And then Raquel has typed a comment that she's happy to meet with a team of people to help identify next steps and develop the program. And I think that, well, and Brad is here too, because as far as the development of what the structure of that is gonna look like, I think there maybe need to be some sort of a formal structure in place, or at least talked about and developed, so that we can make sure that we know who's in charge of doing what, and that there's proper financial oversight and other items. So
What was the form of it prior? Was it a nonprofit or just a county endorsed program, or?
Angie, are you able to speak to the previous, or one of you? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we utilize the, I don't know if you call it Department Division of Economic Development, so part of your county system. So that was the avenue in the past. I think now, from previous conversations with Brad and Tina, I think it's a conversation that the county may want to identify what type of a line item or bucket, so to speak, would you want to put the dollars distributed from the foundation into a leadership program or utilization of the program to have it isolated and segmented from other funds. So those are things that'll be talked about.
Yeah, it was. The day-to-day operations of it were ran by the economic development directors at the time. And then there was a volunteer governance board that looked after the content and just operation of the program when it was in session, which was monthly for 9 or 10 months out of the year. There was representation on that volunteer board from across the county.
Yes, you're exactly
Some
right.
of the
Go ahead.
Some of those folks had self-identified as facilitators of the programs. Others were just day coordinators, arranging logistics, etc. That same kind of structure could be utilized in a program today. The one aspect that might be a bit different is, back then there wasn't a curriculum. It was just community awareness or county awareness, tours, guest speakers, that kind of thing. If you were wanting to incorporate leadership development curriculum, building the capacity of the participants coming through your program to exercise more leadership in the county, then there's probably consideration that needs to be made about who that teaching team might be. Most of the time it's volunteer, and the Kansas Leadership Center can help equip individuals to do that work in your county. So those are just a little bit of the history of that board and how it might look similar today with a bit of nuance considering what might want the program to contain today as opposed to even 10 years ago.
I will tell you, I served on that board 18 years ago as a mayor of Peabody, and it was at that time there was no economic development director in the county. There was no in either city, Marion or Hillsborough. There was just the town administrators. They would usually come, but we met once a month, and it was all talked. I mean, we talked about it at that time in the direction, and then there was usually somebody took charge of it and rotated every other year or something like that, and had different things. So now that's the way it used to be. You're exactly right, Raquel. Dave.
The history, me and two other people started it back in the 80s. And we charged, I think, $100 a person, which the local business would sponsor a scholarship. And it was funded that way. And then it was self-governing after a while. Each year the class would nominate somebody to be on the board.
Yeah.
And we tried to keep it at 10 members per group each year. That was easily handled, and it was to get people familiar with the county.
Yeah.
Because most people don't travel outside their little circle.
Right.
And it was governed that way, and I don't know when the county took over, but for 4 or 5 years, there was 3 of us that was involved. And after a while, we let it self-govern with the ex-class members.
Yeah. Yep.
And then,
that's correct.
it went along for.
If you graduate 1 year, you become a director for the next year, I believe.
No, just one person out of each class.
Yeah.
But then, after 30 years, it fell apart. So I think it's viable. We need it for the young people, and just to help Marion County grow. It gives you an opportunity to see what else is in the county. Now, let's see, Dave, you went on, so
right.
He probably never been to Florence that much, or Peabody.
No, Dave's exactly right. At that age, it was a matter of broadening your horizons, seeing what's available in the county. And I don't care what you are, there's things in Marion County you haven't seen. There's entrepreneurs, there's leaders, there's just fantastic opportunities within our county borders, and that's what gets people enthused about being part of Marion County and wanting to promote Marion County. And I think the process needs to be started again. Whatever framework it takes to get it going, I think we've got some people and resources that can make it an outstanding program and a true benefit to Marion County. So it's just a matter of working through that process to get there. The parts are here.
Commissioner Mueller, if you're going to speak some more, can you turn your microphone a little bit more toward your face instead of up in the air? Because they're having a little bit of trouble hearing
Right.
you on the.
Got to point at you.
It's pointed up too far, so there we go. A little bit better. Okay.
Okay, if the parts are here, how does the commission want to attack getting this together? Or do we want to set a board, a little mini board here of 2 past members here to do this, or do us as a whole board come together here and figure out just exactly?
I think we have 2 volunteers in the room right now.
We've got 2 people here that are asking for our blessing to recommence it.
With a lot of expertise.
Is that the wishes of the board?
I think it's a good start.
I mean, right now, there is some money held back from the previous program.
Mhm.
If we needed, like to bring in a speaker, a motivation, maybe not motivation, but leadership speakers, which this committee has access to. People need that now. We really don't need it. I mean, it's nice to have the tour of the feedlots, because a lot of people have never been to a feedlot. Or how they make honey. I mean, that's a very important part of the program.
Okay, you just heard.
But you need leadership.
You heard some leaders right up there on the screen that they also be willing to help to get this.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you probably have to pay those people to come talk to the class.
Okay. Well, I'm open for motions or anything that you want to do here to get this started, or get a general consensus meeting together and see. John, I haven't heard much out of you.
I'm just thinking, I mean, I've not been through it. I didn't, you guys are talking about not seeing parts of the county. Well, I've seen quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting out how I fit into all this and where I'm at, so.
Okay.
I think our mission this morning is to go ahead and give our blessings to Anthony and Randy to go ahead and start the process.
Yeah, to work with these ladies.
Yeah, work with this group, and then we stay in communication to what we can do going down the road, what we need to provide.
And Commissioner Crowfoot, don't think you're getting out of this.
I've already done it once.
That being said, I'd make a motion to go ahead the process.
I'll second it.
Sorry, I didn't hear the
Okay, have a motion to go ahead with the process from Kent Becker, and second by Dave Crowfoot.
Got one more piece.
Yes, just some more conversation,
It's,
yes.
I'm taking it as, this is a self-funded type of thing, or is this going to be an impact to the budget?
We have funds available right now.
Okay.
It started self-funded, but, then I don't know what it morphed into, because there's really not much expense. There's probably more expense nowadays, because 30 years ago, there were lots of corporations and companies would donate things and would feed people, there was more on donations. And past class members would come forward to help.
So is there an estimated cost to what this is gonna be?
I would only say this, I would say that for the time that we're gonna use now to go figure out a proposal for you all, we will take that budget concern into consideration. I know Tina has a fund right now with some money in it, but I don't know how much it is. But we'll address that with any recommendation we bring to you.
Okay.
I think what they're asking is to potentially have a meeting with a core group of people. So like the community leader folks, the community foundation folks, and several, if the board is okay with me attending, that was one of the, that could be potentially involved, somebody from different areas, just to kind of get a group together to kind of figure out what next steps are, and then bring that proposal back for the board to officially create the program.
Yeah.
I mean, does that make sense? I mean, isn't that what we
That's
were
exactly
hoping
what
for?
I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's what my motion was to go
Okay,
ahead.
that's what I was just gonna ask.
Sure.
Because what you're.
In a nutshell.
Okay.
So I just asked a question for no reason.
Well, I've seen what you was talking about, Dave, it going away. And what I seen when I was attending those meetings, it started when I was attending, is that there was some confliction between people. And
We can't have that.
And that's right. We got to do just what the COVID deal has done, is brought a bunch of people together and work as a team. And if it's anything else but a team, then it's no good. I mean, that's the bottom line. We're all Marion County people, whether you're from Hillsborough, Lehigh, wherever, or Peabody, Burns, Gossel. It is got to be a team. And so that's what we need to do, is pull together as a team, because the separation started when people started going their separate ways and didn't agree.
There is no us and them, it's all,
Yes.
it's all,
Yes.
not me, but it's the team.
Yeah, the team. So I still, Kent, I've still got your motion on the floor.
So can I
Yeah.
ask for a clarification on the motion? Because what I wrote down was to go ahead with the process, but the process wasn't defined when you made your motion, so.
The process of
Planning.
I guess reorganizing the Marion County Leadership Program. And that Anthony and Randy have asked for our blessing to work on that.
So are you?
So if I need to delegate them to whatever they're asking for, that's what I'll include in my motion.
Okay.
So now that you're confused.
Well, what I wrote down then after our discussion was to go ahead with the process of allowing a group to meet and look at options to reorganize, to bring back to the board for
Okay.
approval.
Exactly what I said.
I'll second that.
Okay, only thing I'd like to, well, at this time, it's just bringing the program back. At this time, I would go with that, but later on, I still think we need some county people to be aware of the funding and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna come back to us.
Okay,
That's
that.
part of it.
Okay. Okay, have motion by Kent, second by Dave, start the process of reorganization of Marion County Leadership Program. I'll ask each person in name for a yay or a nay. Randy Dahlke, yay. Kent Becker?
Yeah.
Dave Mueller?
Yes.
Dave Profit?
Yes.
Jonah Gehring?
Yeah.
5-0. So, we're gonna start it. And thank you guys for coming in and being leaders in this too, again, because neither one of you was here when it started or been around it yet, and so.
He's not old enough.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a whole bunch of nice people up there that we can use to help us get this program started again too. So I think you know Angie very well, and the girls up there. I don't know how many of them, but
Yeah. I know all of them pretty well.
Let's use them, and whatever it takes to get them involved, let's get everybody involved here in this program, because it is a good one for Marion County. I agree. Any other things need to be said?
There was one other comment from Raquel that wasn't read, but it
Okay.
just says an important consideration with today's county leadership programs are that participants are exposed and made aware of what's happening in the county, and also then provided leadership development training so the county can make progress on issues that are the most challenging.
Cool. Cool. Thank you. Thank you, every one of you up there. Appreciate your time very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
We look forward to taking,
I guess that's it. Moving on. Thank you, girls.
thank you.
Okay. Public comment, or we got anything else before? Did you guys do anything that we needed before this?
No, we approved the agendas.
Okay.
We do need to have the chairman sign the 2 new signature cards for the payroll account.
Okay.
So I just got them a few minutes ago.
Okay, all right, sign them.
Public health.
They'll want you to go to the microphone.
Yeah.
Really? Can't yell it out?
No.
You take your mask off if you want, sir.
Maybe all right. Maybe, I don't talk very plain anyway. Hi, I'm Michael Sigel. I run several businesses in the county, and I had a question about the road policies as far as which roads are maintained, as far as with gravel to make a passable road, and what it qualifies to be on the maintained list. I have some oil wells where the roads are unpassable, and I compiled a list of the taxes from that quarter, or from that section of ground. And I'm actually 3,000 above the highest paid amount of tax for a residence for the last 5 years. I paid $17,695.58 for 5 years. The next closest was another residence on that section, and it paid $14,188.34 for the past 5 years. The next one is $10,000. They have a gravel road to their place, and the third one was $10,000. There's one more I haven't done yet, but I'll pull it. But I'm paying almost $18,000, and I can't maintain my lease. I can't get to it. I can't market my oil. And I just kind of was wanting to know what the policy was on graveling those roads.
The old policy was somebody had to live on that road before we would maintain the road.
So why do I pay a tax on my ad valorem for maintaining roads if I don't get my road maintained? And I pay more than what a house has. And I don't understand the policy, I guess. I need a clarification of why it is that way. If I'm paying a tax for roads, I can't get to my lease. What if I get hurt out there? How's an ambulance going to get to me when it takes more than a 4-wheel drive, sometimes a 4-wheeler, to get to our leases? And we go every day.
I know what you're talking about. I'm not saying that you're paying tax. Maybe you're paying a high tax, but what if the farmer, they say they pay tax just, even though they're not the highest, but they're paying tax on some of this, and so, and I'm just saying that's the policy, is what it has been.
Okay, I guess I don't understand the policy then, as taking my money for roads. I can tell you what the quarter section pays for an 80. An 80 pays about $800,
Yeah.
not 18,000. It's not even comparable. When I can't market my oil and the oil price goes down because the tank sits in there, I lose $1,600. If I lose $10 during the month, that tank of oil can't go out because the road's muddy. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. The next month I sell it, and it's $1,600 less.
Yeah. And I'm not saying we're not open to change our policy. I'm just saying that's what it's been, and
Okay.
that's how we've had to have some sort of rule to go by. And so I mean, you've heard just heard a comment here about taxes paid by oil. You're not the first one.
Oh, I know. I've been in here
You're not the
before,
first
but
one.
I'm back again.
Yeah.
And I've paid for the rock to go on the road also, on
Yeah.
my own road. I've had to pay and have it spread. I had Kenny Rogers come out there and put rock on the road just so I can get in there.
Right. So.
And I think it becomes a safety issue too at some point. I mean, who's responsible when I get hurt in there and you can't get to me? I go back and I say, well, I paid my taxes. I paid it so I could have police and ambulance support, but now you can't get to me. By the time a chopper gets in there, I suppose I'm dead or something,
Yeah. I would think maybe we need to put it on the commission's agenda and
Great.
see if we can get rid of this issue.
And I think most of us that have oil wells would be willing to figure something out, even if it has to be that we support it in a different way,
Right.
For me, I'm a reasonable man. We can figure out how to figure it out.
The county is too. I mean,
Right.
we had to have something to go on, and we need to figure out a policy and see however we can work on it.
And I think a lot of times no one knows how much that the oil business actually pays in tax for the roads. I don't think that everybody realizes that to you. And I didn't realize it was this bad till I wrote it down. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know that I was, almost twice as much as a house.
Yeah.
When, we go to the wells twice a day, usually every day, at least once, but sometimes twice. And that's if we're not doing any work.
Was last year a good year for you?
No.
Well,
$30
I'm
oil,
just asking.
$8 oil, but I still paid $6,914 worth of
But it's
tax.
going back up now.
Yeah,
It's
sure it
gonna
is,
go
and
up,
then you'll
so-
get more money from me, don't
Oh,
worry.
okay.
You'll get yours from me. When the price goes up,
Well-
it's a calculated figure from the state.
Right.
And then my tax goes up, regardless of whether I'm making more money. If the price goes up, I still pay.
And so, I think the commission would have to figure out, in this case, if somebody don't pay their taxes, what we do next then, you know, in that. I mean,
Well,
that's-
you go to a sheriff's sale just like you do with someone's house.
Yeah.
That's no difference. They sell your
Yeah.
mineral rights. and
Mineral
it's-
rights are there, yeah.
Yeah, then it's gone. So
Yeah.
there's no difference there.
The other big thing that I think we ought to look at, because a lot of these leases go right past the farmhouse, and that's where the gravel quits.
Yeah.
And then the bumper goes out there every day, so when it's muddy, he's dragging mud back across in front of that farmhouse, ruining that road.
Oh yeah, it ruins that road too. It
So this would be a good way to preserve those rock roads if we would just extend them a little further to the leases.
And I just bought another one down there on that section, and it's that way. The house is to the point, and then my road is past that, and it's just impassable when it's muddy. You just can't go in there. I sent pictures to you before of how bad
Yep.
that road is. It's just,
Yep.
it's not even a four-wheeler to get there.
So are you talking about being selective on that? We got oil and
See,
gas
that's-
leases around the county that are 2 miles from the nearest.
I agree with you, and then that becomes a
I
problem.
mean,
when
how
you-
does that work?
I think then the lease owner may have to be part of that. You know, we may have to figure out a ratio or a schedule where.
I think some of the, what Kent just mentioned,
You
some
gotta
of the
be
reasons why.
careful about your policies because they're gonna bite you.
Right.
Well, then you may have to reduce our taxes. You know, if we're gonna have to pay,
Well, I mean,
I'm gonna have to pay
there's
to
different
maintain the
ways,
road.
there's probably different ways to look at it other than just, we gotta go out and spread more rock.
That's right. You know, if you may have to reduce our tax load so we can pay to maintain our own roads if we have to do that.
I don't think we have the power to do that though.
Yeah, that's,
Other than just shut the county down.
Well,
But the
I don't mean
percentage
that.
of
I don't mean that at all.
The state sets your rate, right?
Yes.
For what you pump, is that correct?
Or kind of for the equipment. It's
For
really,
any
it's
equipment.
all kinds of stuff. It's
Yeah.
everything that's there.
Right.
Just like on your house.
But how's the new valuations gonna affect his pocketbook?
That remains to be seen yet. I can't even explain that at this point.
Me neither, because it changes. That's why I can tell you. I'll start here. In 2016, my taxes were $882. In 2017, it was $5,908. In 2018, it was $1,579. In 2019, it was $6,414. One of the years, it was $16,000, but I had to appeal because I had no idea why it was that high. But we got it back to I think the 7,000 or 6,900.
Yeah.
So, and this year it was 2,910, but who knows what it'll be? I think it'll be up again this year. I'll be back at $7,000 or $8,000, which is hard to plan for.
Well, yeah,
You know?
that's a single,
Pay your budget.
that's a single well.
Yes, that's a single well, one well. That's just my one, that's just the Boozman's lease out there on 80 acres.
And you're gonna be likely having 2 more.
Yeah, just like it to the wet, in the same section, we will have 2 more.
So within that same section, you're gonna have 3 different wells paying that kind of tax.
Yeah, it'll be another 15,000 or whatever in 5 years over there. It may be worse, that one. But anyway, I don't want to take a whole bunch of time on
It's not an easy
it.
thing, but I think we can work on it and see what we can do and work together. Again, what I just said earlier about the other meeting just ahead of you, need to work together on it and see if we can do something.
Okay,
And-
sounds good. I don't want to take your whole day. Everybody has
No,
other things to
that's
do.
That's fine.
I gotta go to my account, so.
You've already been here an hour.
Yeah.
May I ask your last name and?
Sigel, S-I-G-E-L. Michael is my first name, M-I-C-H-A-E-L.
And he was a
Everybody
vol-
calls me Jake.
He was a volunteer at the COVID deal last week, so that's what got him fired up to come to see us.
Well, you weren't so scary, so I thought I'd come see you.
Well, thank you for coming seeing us.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a way we can figure something out. You know, I'm not opposed to spending my own money out there if we can keep it maintained. Because right now, if I take you out there, it's not a fault of the counties or anything, but when it's not a real road, the rock ends up just going to the side of the road. It's all in the ditch again. So.
And I will pass this on, the same issue comes on to your cattlemen. I mean, they've set a farm up 2 miles or a mile away, and they expect us to bring a road to them.
I don't expect you to do that. I mean,
So-
for the original road, I'm not against paying to get that road originally. I'm not against that at all, because I need a road.
So,
You know, and I've done that. I've started with it, but I can
some other
continue doing it.
issues comes up when we have to make some policies here.
Yeah, maintaining it afterwards. And I've got a little road grader, but I never know whether to get on the county road or not, because I know there's a liability if I'm playing around on a county road. I'm not supposed to do that, so I don't. I maintain my own roads. Like Joan always says, once I get to your lease, I'm fine. I can drive up in there, because I maintain my own road. but I'm always afraid to get on that county piece and then play in it, because I'm not supposed to. That's not how that works.
Okay. Well, thank you for the, you know.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Yes, you too. And so, well, commission, you know, I think I'll put it on the agenda and get some discussion here, and how soon do you want it on the agenda to talk about?
I think we're gonna have to determine, if we do something like that for one guy, how are you gonna determine how many more miles in this
No,
county you
I'm
go
not,
wrong?
I'm not in favor of doing it for one guy right now. We just need some policy, but to take into consideration of everybody that we affect here by doing this, because there's cattlemen and everybody else that sets baby feedlots too, and things like that, that come up in this discussion. And
Conceivably, we're gonna have a request for every road in Marion County, you're right.
And then the other thing is, you're building, there's a new feedlot west of Tampa right now, and it's, you know, it's on a blacktop road, and you're bringing, we gotta build a road good enough for it, or it's gonna be tore up. I mean, I don't know how many trucks are in and out of there a day, and I don't have a clue, but it just, I see it, it's a big lot. They spent quite a bit of
You also have the feedlots on the dirt roads.
Yeah, right beside it,
And
yeah.
we've had, you've sat through the, people come in here repeatedly.
Yeah.
And some of those things, I mean, I'm not trying to discount anything else, but certain shops or businesses, they choose where they set up.
Mhm.
This one you don't. And you go where it is. So it's different.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we've got a lot of wells in Marion County that are not on a gravel road.
Well, and that all needs to be part of policy probably. I mean,
If
it
they
probably
pay-
needs to be
pay
over a
half
threshold of
for the
so
gravel
many
or something
barrels.
like that, or-
Because that'll be a more frequented area.
Visit, yeah.
Well, my
I know.
little stripper wells, we probably don't need a gravel down. 'Cause
Gravel it and they close it.
They go out about every 6 months.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's some picky things here, so, that's just a good comment by Mr. Siegel. That's S-I or?
SIGEL is what he said.
Siegel. Any other public comments?
We have that one from earlier.
Yes.
This was from Brian Jones, and he was wondering, wanted to ask the sheriff, and he said, with all the national unrest and the Black Lives Matter movement that has been in the news and on so many people's minds in the last year, I'd like to ask your professional opinion. I think it's supposed to be about qualified immunity for law enforcement officers. He says that your department is obviously comprised of upstanding law enforcement, as their very low crime rate in Marion County reflects. I would value your professional opinion on qualified immunity pertaining to law enforcement misconduct and how you prevent such issues within your department. And then he said, thank you for providing your insight on this. So that was the comment that was earlier in the meeting, and I don't believe Mr. Jones is on anymore.
Okay. Does the commission feel that that comment could be relayed to Sheriff Kraft and him answer it, or answer it publicly?
I think however he chooses.
However he chooses?
I just get it to Mr. Kraft and have him address it how he sees fit.
Okay. We can do that. Okay, is there any other, Tina, that you have up there?
No, no other comments on
Other
this
comments?
screen.
Let's move to commission comments. Oh, wait a minute, Brad, before we go that far, do you have any things for us?
Nothing today.
Nothing today? Okay. So then we'll go on to commission comments. Anybody holding their hand up?
I got one thing, and it's bothered me for a little while, and I don't know how. When we've done the online things, there's so many people that don't put in a full name. They put in some initials, or they put in something, and it's like, I'd really like to see who they are, or boot them. Put out there, because when they walk in the room, you know who they are. I mean, you're not hiding who you are.
Correct.
And I would like to see it full names only.
It's either that, Jonah, or when we say that, state your full name, or we'll cut you off.
Yeah,
I mean, it can be handled two ways there, but I like the policy, like you said.
It's easy enough to type in your full
Okay,
name.
Jonah, self-user, would you speak in the mic?
Self, what?
The self-user, whoever that is. Towards the bottom.
Yeah, and that's gotta be somebody in the courthouse, isn't it?
Or the South Shop, I don't know.
Yeah, I would, my request was that, I'd like to see full names on the people attending the virtual meeting. That way we know who's there.
I agree.
I think South user, I think that's a statement, period, that we all agree to, that when people walk in here, we see you, we understand who you are and stuff like that, and this is another way that, you know, we just know who you are and what you're talking about. So I hope it don't offend nobody, but I think that's the way the commission feels from the way I'm seeing everybody's nod, is that, you know, that we would like to see the full name up there so we know who we're talking to. I think that's only fair.
Well, I do
Well,
have
it's
a question
also-
about that, because sometimes you have people that just call in, and there's no way for those folks to put their names in. It
Right,
just
they
says
state their name.
caller one.
Yeah. But usually if they call in, they're not always, but usually when they call in, they've got a screen monitor and they don't have a mic. So they're using the phone to dial in, and then they're watching it on the screen.
But how they speaking then? They're not.
They gotta unmute the phone.
Oh, unmute.
So the phone is actually their mic.
Oh, okay.
If they log in using a smartphone, it will still come up this way.
Yeah.
But if they dial in using the number,
On there.
that's, and if they straight dial in and that's all they do, then yeah, there's no way to pull them up.
Well, it's a good comment, John. I really appreciate it, because that's, I mean, yeah, like to see who we're talking.
Well, it also goes back to upkeep of the minutes too. I mean, when they come in, they used to sign in all the time, and who was here. I don't know, it just kind of fits all back into that too.
And I have not been recording each
Virtual.
attendee
Right.
in the minutes for a long time. I just say members of the public
Right.
now, because
Yeah,
we
right.
have people giving wrong names
Yeah.
and coming into the meeting,
Yeah.
giving false names. I mean, and so I didn't know what the purpose of keeping those specific attendees' names, unless it's for a public hearing or something like that.
Right.
I just started going to members of the public
Yeah.
as far as for the minutes themselves.
Good. Okay, we'll make that, we won't do that right now, but we can make that sort of an administrative thing for next week, have it brought up so we can vote on it, Tina, to have full names so we know who was here, who's speaking.
So then when we see somebody on the screen that only has one name, do we say, if you want to stay on the Zoom meeting, please put your full name in?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've got somebody there right now, 2.
Yeah. 3, 4. Tech support, I'm assuming
Okay.
is.
That's us.
Okay.
We have that logged in the hallway. That's the
Yeah.
name of the account that comes up, so.
Well, as long as we know who they are.
And what
They can use whatever, if they want to tell you what their real name is, and they want to not be seen, I don't really care, as long as we know who they are.
Okay, but what Kent just said though, just like today, would we ask those or cut them off or somehow, or what would you do with that? I mean, that's something that
I don't know if you can legally cut them off.
well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I
It's a
think
public
that's
meeting.
that's
That's why
part of
Brad-
free speech,
Glad
but
Brad's
you
here.
can't ask them for the full name.
Yeah.
Just attending an open meeting, the way we're set up, this is not something that has partial closure, so if they refuse to give a name, I think they can do so. If they wish to participate in the meeting, we can always absolutely require that in some fashion we get a full name. Usually we can ask for an address, quite frankly, as well. But I'd have to do a little looking to see if we can compel first and last name just to attend. We may get into a little more difficulty with that.
But you can't.
Maybe, well,
It's tough to, there's
is no way
pros
to
and
set
cons.
some sort of policy on it? Because what if we get somebody putting in inappropriate things?
I understand. And it's a different set of rules when it's virtual than in person, in terms of what a lot of things are still being fleshed out, in terms of how the constitutional requirements are applied in that particular instance of the protection. So I need to do a little looking. So I can
If
answer
something
that.
pops up though, Tina, you can't cut somebody off, one particular person.
Well,
If-
if someone's speaking out of turn, we can mute them.
Okay. Okay.
If somebody types in an appropriate comment and they share with everyone, everyone's gonna see it immediately.
before we can do anything
And there's
about
no
it.
way that I can,
So then what Jonah's saying, if you don't know the name though, the appropriate comment comes up, they could be using somebody's name.
Yeah, so it's best to have their name on there. That way, if they want to type something inappropriate, then you know who really said that.
Well, if you want to go to the other extreme, if you can hear me, I can type in somebody else's name and put it
Sure,
out
yeah.
appropriate.
I guess you're right.
And how are you gonna prove who they are from their name?
Right, yeah.
I just go fish a circle. My point, it's probably gonna come to recommend or ask that they put their name on.
I think this is.
Some of them are gonna put Mickey Mouse.
It's a
The
policy
correct
matter for us,
protocol.
kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
it's good
We
to
prefer to have it.
put your name out there.
But it
Well,
would be helpful if they were.
In the era of Zoom meetings, we're all on Virgin
Yeah,
Solar.
that's.
So that's evolving, I would guess.
Yeah. Okay.
All righty.
Yeah, mine at home has my wife's name on because she used to last. That was the other day.
Yeah, I've been on Zoom meetings and they say good morning, Ginger.
and some people don't know how to change their name on the meeting either.
Right.
Including me.
Commission, we got one thing left on here, commission department head evaluation review. How much time do we have left for that? Does everybody have time today to do some, or any recommendations to do that? Needs to be started.
Need to get going.
Yeah.
Would it, I mean, you decide how long you want to go in for, but could I stay in for the first part to just go over the information with you
Yes.
and then go out?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Does everybody have 30 minutes to start, or do you, just to get started, or do 45? What do we have?
I got the whole day.
Oh. Okay.
We'll just go ahead and start out for 45 minutes.
45 minutes? Yeah.
At least get the process started.
It needs to be done. We need to get on.
Do you want me
For
to write it
personnel
up?
performance?
Yes, for department head.
I thought I had a bald spot for a second. It was just a little dust speck on my screen.
Looks all right.
I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss personnel performance pursuant to KSA 75-4319B for review of department heads' reports with the board and Tina for the first few minutes to get us started. Then she will leave, and out of that 45 minutes, so it would be from 11:48 to 12:38.
33?
33, there we go. 33, I guess, yes. That's my motion.
Second.
Have a second by Kent. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 5-0.
Okay, so back at 12:33.
Give us a little taste here so we can get going.
You're out of the picture too.
There's you.
Yeah, you got the best seat in the house.
Except,
This conference will now be recorded.
Out of executive session, no decisions, and I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Jonah. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Nope, unanimous. Meeting adjourned. This will be for your approval next week after I get done.